Garavito began to feel indifferent to his sexual crimes. On October 4th, 1992, he saw 13-year-old Juan Carlos walking near a market where he was drinking. According to Garavito, the moonlight reflected in the river aroused a strange force in him, reminding him of his childhood and angering him. He followed the boy, buying some industrial rope and a butcher's knife along the way, before offering him a job for 500 or 1,000 pesos. Carlos left the busy area of Jamundi with Garavito and headed for a remote area near the local railway line, where he was later found with his front teeth knocked out, severe lacerations to his rectum and throat, and his genitals severed. Garavito claimed to have lost consciousness and cried when he discovered blood on his clothes in the morning. On October 10, 1992, Garavito ventured to Trujillo to see his sister Esther. He drank brandy to suppress his urges and began breaking containers in a rage after seeing a child passing by, killing 12-year-old John Alexander Peñaranda on his way to his sister's residence while in Tulua. He also stalked and killed young people, collecting their amputated toes. In 1993, Garavito began slashing the stomachs of his victims, luring 8 youths between the ages of 9 and 11 from a local school to a nearby wooded area in the La Victoria district. Fearing detection by bloodhounds, Garavito then disposed of their amputated toes before murdering Henry Giovanni Garcia, Marco Aurelio Castano, Juan David Cardenas, Jaime Orlando Popayan, and 3 other unidentified children in southeast Bogotá. He then killed 2 more children in the Maison neighborhood, before leaving for Tulua, then Pereira, then Quimbaya, then Tulua again where he killed more children, ending his tour in 1993 with the murder of 13-year-old Mauricio Monedero Mejia. In early 1994, Garavito lured a young man from Bogotá, estimated to be around 12 years old, who had fallen asleep on a bus. After plying him with brandy, Garavito stripped and tied the child up in a secluded spot in a valley, while he was in a daze before noticing a foul odor. He abandoned the child after discovering the source of the odor was a mass grave. The child immediately seized a knife, and severing Garavito's tendons in his left hand with the weapon, before Garavito overpowered and killed him. On February 4th, 1994, Garavito lured 13-year-old Jaime Andrés González from Plaza Bolívar to a sugarcane field shortly after he had been kicked out of a bar that night for complaining about the food, before molesting and murdering him. Upon encountering a large cross, he entered a brief psychotic state and heard a voice admonishing him before burying his knife and asking for forgiveness. He then retrieved it and returned to his hotel room to sing the 57th Psalm for several hours until dawn. On January 12, 1997, Garavito murdered an 8-year-old boy before killing other minors during this period. The victims were mostly boys, although local media also noted that Garavito had assaulted and murdered female victims. In addition to the 172 initial murder charges against him, Garavito also confessed to 28 additional murders in 2003, including 5 adults. According to Garavito, he ordered the killing of his adult victims. Garavito was also said to have been operating in Ecuador during the summer of 1998, when he murdered 14-year-old Abel Gustavo Lor Vélez, a local shoeshine boy and newspaper boy, on July 20th, 1998, and 12-year-old Jaime Leonardo Palacios Enchundia in Chuni, Ecuador. Both boys were from poor families and disappeared around noon. Garavito was later spotted at a girls' school in Santo Domingo, Ecuador, before fleeing Ecuadorian authorities, who were preparing an operation to capture him. They found 2 bodies there, one of a young girl who had been raped, tortured, murdered, and disposed of in a manner similar to Garavito's modus operandi. Local residents noticed a foreign vagrant who had a thick Colombian accent, begging for money in July and August of that year. Garavito also stated that he had committed murders in Venezuela. En 1979, Garavito, armado con un cuchillo, se apoderó de William Trujillo Mora, de 9 años de edad, quien fue entrevistado y destacado en el programa de televisión colombiana Los Informantes, en la región del Valle del Cauca mientras se dirigía a unirse a otros niños que jugaban. He hugged him and threatened to kill him if he cried out. Trujillo complied, and Garavito escorted him to an abandoned building where he was sexually molested and tortured for 12 hours. Sensing someone nearby, Garavito urged the child to remain silent. When Garavito lost consciousness from drinking, Trujillo managed to escape. In 1988, Garavito lured and sexually assaulted an unidentified victim near a restaurant called El Arepazo in the Alto del Rio sector of Calarca, Quindío, the site where several bodies were later found within 20 meters of each other. 11 years later, on January 25, 1999, Garavito's 42nd birthday, in the aftermath of a devastating earthquake, authorities found the owner of El Arepazo, which had been reduced to rubble, who described Garavito and pointed them in his direction, saying he had known him for many years but had been avoiding him because of his drinking problem and aggressive tendencies.